introducing myself and giving you just a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll introduce you to Jim and we'll get going. My name is Amber Johnson. I think I've met most of you. I'm the Chief Communication Officer here at the Center for Values-Driven Leadership, and I'm also a recent graduate of the program. And so I'm particularly delighted that you've joined us here today for this visit. And I want to just start with a little bit of housekeeping. I'll go over the agenda in just a second, but in terms of what you can expect from the technology, I think at this point we all know how Zoom works. So we're going to mostly ask you, if you're a guest, to keep yourself on mute. That'll help us control all that background noise. It's up to you whether you have the camera on or off. You can feel free to turn it off if you would like. But we do want to hear from you, and you can communicate with us most easily through the chat button. And so I think by now you probably know how to find chat on the Zoom, that you can look for the little panel, click chat, and then you can choose Amber Johnson and just send me whatever questions you'd like us to make sure we cover. And then I'll moderate questions towards the end of the session. Okay. And if we don't have time to address your questions during the call, then I can drop you an email afterwards. All right, so here is our agenda for the day. In just a minute, we'll get started with some introductions, and then Jim is going to walk us through the program's format, its curriculum, and some of the things that make us distinctive. And then we'll hear from a panelist on the call, and then Laura and our panelist and Jim will spend about 30 minutes just answering your questions. That's really the purpose of today's session. And we'll close then with some next steps of if you are interested in applying, what you need to be doing now to get yourself ready for that. Let me start with introducing Jim here. You can see Jim there with the books in the background. He's the director and co-founder of the Center for Values-Driven Leadership, and he's a recognized expert in the topic of workplace culture. Jim earned his PhD from Case Western Reserve University, and he's been teaching executive students at Benedictine for about 20 years. He's a leader in the study of appreciative inquiry, which is a leadership and organizational change model. We often end up talking about it in these sessions. And he's the author of the Appreciative Inquiry Summit, which is sort of the definitive text on the topic. He's also one of the brightest minds and just nicest guys you'll ever meet. And when he's not working, he spends his time cycling, traveling, and hanging out with his 6 grandkids, which has to be changed in my notes here because he had a new baby, a grandbaby, Theodore James, born last week. So we're excited for Jim for that as well. And with that, Jim, I'll turn it over to you to do some additional introductions.
Great, thank you, Amber. And hello, everyone. It's great to have you with us here this evening on this online open house. And I'd like to start by introducing the other folks on the call who make up the Center for Values-Driven Leadership. And as Amber mentioned, first, today we are joined by one of our current students, and her name is Laura Gilliam. And Laura works for Progressive Insurance Company, where she manages the research and design and delivery of their National Leadership Excellence Program, which focuses on leadership competency evaluation and executive coaching to help create a flourishing corporate culture. And Laura's special area of expertise is in emotional intelligence. And she's seen remarkable results in teaching emotional intelligence skills to progressives, executives, and managers. Laura earned her Master of Science in Positive Organization Development and Change from Case Western Reserve University, where she also obtained a certificate in Appreciative Inquiry and a certificate in Emotional Intelligent Leadership and Executive Coaching. Prior to that, Laura earned a Master of Science in Project Management from Boston University and a Bachelor of Arts in Education from the University of Akron. Here in the PhD program in Values-Driven Leadership, Laura is a member of Cohort 5 and is in her final months of coursework before beginning her dissertation research. And not surprisingly, based on her role at Progressive, Laura's dissertation topic focuses on evaluating the organizational impact of emotional intelligence development programs for leaders at every level. And I can assure you, knowing the quality of Laura's work, that this dissertation is also going to be a great piece of work. So Laura, it is wonderful to have you here this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. You can give a wave and a hello, although you did before, give it again.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Also on the call is Amber Johnson, whom you've already met. And as I'm sure you've discovered, she is exceptional. Amber is our Chief Communications Officer and a Senior Research Associate, and is in charge of all of our marketing and communications and recruiting and thought leadership dissemination. Amber is also a recent graduate of our PhD program, having successfully defended her dissertation in May. And her dissertation explored the success factors in leading global change projects. And it is an exceptional piece of work as well. And Amber has already published a number of articles based on her dissertation and has more in the pipeline. And today, Amber will share a little bit about the Center for Values-Driven Leadership and then moderate our Q&A session. Next, I want to introduce you to our faculty and some of our distinguished visiting scholars. As you can see on the slide, there are 3 core faculty in addition to me, none of which are on the call today. They are Marie DiVirgilio, Gus Gustafson, and Mike Manning. And Marie and Gus and Mike and I set the curriculum and anchor each of the courses in the program, and we chair the students' dissertation committees and provide all kinds of support to our students along the way. Then there are our distinguished visiting scholars who teach alongside Marie, Gus, Mike, and me. And they provide our program a key competitive advantage over other programs. These folks are the top scholars from around the world who come to teach in their particular area of expertise. And so in most cases, they are the scholars who wrote the books and wrote the articles that you're reading in class, and they spend the weekend in class with you discussing their ideas and other ideas in the field of leadership. Featured here are the 3 individuals who have won, or 3 of the individuals who have won our Students Award for Best Distinguished Visiting Scholar. Anjan Chakravarti of the University of Miami, who teaches philosophy of science. Inger Stensacker of the Norwegian School of Economics, who teaches qualitative research methods. And Kim Cameron, a legend in the field of positive organizational scholarship and a professor at the University of Michigan, who teaches in the course on moral and ethical foundations of leadership. And you can find a complete list of the visiting scholars on our website, and I encourage you to check that out. Now I'd like to turn it over to Amber to tell you a bit about the Center for Values-Driven Leadership. Amber?
Thanks, Jim. I'm just going to say a couple of words about the center so that you know where the PhD program is sort of sits within the university. And as you can see on the slide, our center really exists to help values-driven leaders develop themselves and others so that we can build flourishing companies that transform business and society. And if you're wondering what we mean by values-driven leadership, for us, that means about doing business the right way. It's about being really clear and confident about your own core values, and then building values-based organizational cultures and practices that promote flourishing at every level. And when we say values, we mean things like honesty and integrity, care and compassion, inclusion, excellence and accountability, meaning, purpose, contribution to the greater good. Our purpose is to help change the way business is done. And we do that by studying values-driven companies and telling their stories and then developing their leaders. And in practice, that really happens in 3 ways: through research, through education, and through what we call practice, or the work of values-driven leadership. On the research side, as faculty and staff and students, we're engaged in a number of projects that focus in some way on the link between culture and values and people and performance. So for example, one of my classmates, David Barnett, is focusing his research on how values are transmitted within intergenerational family businesses and how that influences various measures of performance. Some of my other classmates, Selwa and Angie, looked at best practices for building inclusive organizations and the active strategies for inclusion that drive superior performance. And of course, Jim told you what I focused on, which was leading global change and how to be successful at doing that. and what leads to successful outcomes when you have to work across multiple continents and countries and cultures and environments and time zones and currencies, not to mention all the technical applications and complications of whatever change you're trying to enact. Then on the education side, we have the PhD DBA program, which of course you're all familiar with. And we also have a master's program in values-driven leadership that we offer inside companies as an in-house customized degree. And then we offer non-degree executive education programs that we'll tell you a little bit more about later. In terms of practice, we do consulting services and customized executive ed for companies, and we offer regular senior executive roundtables each year. These are really exceptional learning experiences where we get to open our doors to the public along with our students, and we have 100 or so leaders from the business community who come together and spend a Friday afternoon really digging into what it means to lead from a values-driven perspective. And we bring the best speakers in the world, the best leadership thinkers, and we get them to talk about things like emotional intelligence, Laura's topic area, or leading change, or working with millennials, or building positive organizational cultures. All right, that gives you a quick overview of who we are as a center and what we do besides the PhD program, but now we want to really dig into that program. So Jim, let me turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Amber. As you know, we began the program in 2011, and we're currently recruiting for our 6th cohort. And here you see many of our graduates and current students, and we're incredibly proud of the work that they do. They are executives changing the way business is done, some of them in major corporations like Ford, Boeing, Allstate, and Progressive. Some of them as founders and CEOs of small to mid-sized firms like Phoenix Boats, Inspira Health, Blue Trail Software. Some of them are commanders, colonels, generals in the US Armed Forces. And some of them are senior leaders in nonprofits and higher education like the Girl Scouts of the USA and Valparaiso University. And it's these values-driven leaders who were instrumental in helping us receive recognition as the #1 PhD program in leadership from HR.com in 2017 and 2018. And I'm pretty sure we would have won it in 2019 and 2020 as well, but HR.com stopped giving that award. But these are exceptional leaders. These are the kinds of students we have in our program, and we feel very privileged to be able to work with them. Now I'd like to share a little bit about the format and curriculum of the program, and then walk you through some of the features that make it especially distinctive. And I'll move quickly so that we have plenty of time for Q&A. But feel free to start sending Amber your questions using the chat function anytime. In terms of the format of the program, as most of you know, it's a 3-year program. And in the first 2 years, you attend classes 1 weekend a month, plus a 6-day intensive in June. And this format allows our students to fly in from across the country and around the world to attend class. Then in the 3rd year, you don't need to come to campus. You work with your dissertation committee to conduct original research around a topic of your choice. And of course, right now, during the coronavirus, we are not able to meet in person. We've been required by the university this whole year to hold our classes on Zoom. And we were recently informed that we need to hold our winter courses via Zoom as well. Moving into the spring and the start of cohort 6, which would be your cohort, we're not yet sure what will happen. The university may require us to go fully online if the coronavirus is still not under control, or if vaccines are distributed rapidly and the coronavirus subsides, the university may move to what is called a high flex model, where you can choose. You can either come to class in person with all of the safety protocols in place, or remain online if for health reasons you consider it important to do so. And if a miracle occurs and the coronavirus goes away completely, we will return to being a face-to-face program, but of course, only when it is safe. Just a word about why we are so committed to face-to-face learning, and that is because our students tell us they prefer face-to-face learning because so much of the richness of the program comes from the relationships that get built in the cohort and the incredible classroom conversations that happen as students from across the country come together with our faculty and the distinguished visiting scholars to engage in really deep, rich, spirited dialogue around the theory and practice of leadership. Now, we've gotten pretty good at creating the same kind of environment on Zoom, but our desire is still to return to in-person classes as soon as safely possible. In terms of the curriculum of the program, it covers 4 main areas: global leadership, strategic change, corporate responsibility, and of course, research methods to prepare you to do your own research in the 3rd year. And we look at each of these topics through the lens of what it means to lead yourself, what it means to lead others, what it means to lead the organization, and then what it means to lead in society. And you can see a full list of the courses and their descriptions on our website. And I encourage you to read through them and let us know if you have any questions about that. Also, as a part of the curriculum, you attend 3 conferences. In year 1 and year 2, these conferences are part of the regular course curriculum. In year 1, you attend the leading conference in the field of management, which is the annual meeting of the Academy of Management. And that's usually in early August. And this year they've already decided, that is to say for 2021, they've already decided that the conference will be online, and we will be attending that one online. Then in year 2, usually in October or November, you attend the annual conference of the International Leadership Association, which is the leading conference for leadership scholars. And both of these conferences are just phenomenal opportunities to meet with top thinkers in the field and explore cutting edge research topics that you're passionate about, and also present your own research and case studies at those conferences. Finally, you have a requirement to attend a global conference of your choice at some time during the program. And our students and faculty have traveled to different parts of the world together, such as Belgium, Dubai, France, India, Ireland, Italy, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Spain, the UK, to engage in high quality learning exchanges with top scholars and executives from other countries and cultures. And we decided to make these conferences a required part of the curriculum because in our first couple of cohorts, we found that the students who attend them make connections with top scholars from around the world, get exposed to new promising ideas, and really make better, faster progress on their knowledge of the field and on their dissertations by going to those conferences. And additionally, traveling to the conferences with the faculty and your fellow cohort members is just a lot of fun, and it builds a lot of camaraderie. So it's something you can really look forward to. And again, we hope to be able to do these in person, with the exception of the Academy of Management in the fall of 2021, assuming that it is safe. If not, we will do them online. Now, I want to quickly share a few things that I think make the program distinctive. And the first is that the program is for senior leaders like Laura who want to change the world through business. And this is based on the idea that business is currently the most powerful institution on the planet, and the institution with the greatest potential to influence positive change. So we're looking for people who share this conviction and want to be part of a learning community that will help them advance their life and advance their careers in this direction, all from a values-driven perspective. Second, the program is for people who just love to learn. And it's different than other doctoral programs out there, whether it's a traditional or an executive program or an online program. Ours is designed to help you grow as a leader, to help you grow as a scholar, and to help you grow as a person. And we have found that the students who thrive most in the program are those who just open themselves to the world of ideas and jump in with both feet and explore as many theories and models and perspectives and experiences as possible, and then engage in really deep, meaningful learning and dialogue with others. Third, it's a scholar practitioner program, and that means that the faculty and our visiting distinguished scholars bring their best, most cutting edge ideas into the classroom, and then students like Laura and Amber and others do the same. And then together we build new theory and do new research and test them in the world of practice. And so in this program, you're not just a consumer of knowledge the way you would be in an undergrad or a master's program. You become a creator of new knowledge, a creator of new ideas and new models and new approaches that you and others can apply in your organizations and also write up and publish to advance the state of the art of the field. And we know that some of you have not been in the classroom in many years, and that's not a problem. That's okay. A lot of folks come into the program who are in that same boat, and we will come alongside you and support you as you make this transition into being a scholar practitioner. One of the features of the program is that we provide you with a world-class writing coach who will give you multiple rounds of personalized feedback on your writing to help you get up to speed on your academic writing. And that leads me to our next point, which is our program is a student-centric program, and it's tailored to the demands of executives working full-time. It's designed to be completed in 3 years, as opposed to 5 to 7 years for most doctoral programs. And we've already discussed that the format allows you to be in class on the weekend and still put in a full week of work. You can also select from one of 2 tracks, a more research-focused PhD track or a more practice-oriented DBA track. And all of the coursework throughout the 2 years of the first 2 years of the program are scheduled to help you make progress towards your dissertation beginning on day 1. And you can focus your dissertation on pretty much any topic you wish within the fields of leadership, sustainability, and strategic change, broadly defined. And that's also different than most doctoral programs. Most doctoral programs make you support the research agenda of the faculty. In our program, it's just the opposite. We help you discover your passion and your interest, and then help you succeed in your dissertation around that topic. You'll also get an unusually high level of faculty, staff, alumni, and fellow student support. We're a community of learners fully committed to your success once you're accepted into the program. And then you get to do all of this, hopefully, in our new state-of-the-art building, the Goodwin Hall of Business. Next point I want to make is that we work really hard to make the program a truly global learning community. We bring in as much diversity into the student body as possible. And as mentioned previously, much of the teaching is done by visiting scholars from leading universities around the globe. And then we also go on an international trip to help build connections with scholars and practitioners working in different global contexts. And we believe it's absolutely vital for values-driven leaders to have this global perspective as globalization is changing the way we work. Finally, our students tell us that the program is distinct in its ability to transform. We provide a safe and inviting space in which you can find your edges and push your edges and really open yourself to personal and professional transformation. And during the program, you'll make lifelong friendships, as I'm sure Laura and Amber can attest to, and you'll test the boundaries of your knowledge and your discipline and your resilience. And you'll dig deeply into what truly matters to you, and you'll rethink the way you lead and the way you serve, and you'll see results, not just in the diploma you earn, but also in your life and in your leadership as well. And with that, I would now like to turn it over to Laura so that you have a chance to hear from her and to hear her perspective about the program and her experience in it. And just a reminder that you can be firing questions to Amber at any time in the chat function, and we will make sure to get to your questions in the Q&A session right after we hear from Laura. So Laura, over to you.
Yeah, welcome everyone. It's so great to be here with you. I remember sitting right where you are and hearing from Jim and Amber and some folks who had gone through the program and all the things that I was processing at that time, and even considering. I did a lot of research. I did my due diligence. It's a big investment. So I really thought through it. And in the end, obviously this is where I landed. And there were 5 things that Jim said that really, I would say, beyond a reasonable doubt, and something that you're welcome to reach out to any of us, including myself, and get more information on, because I know it's the stuff I wanted more on. But the rigor, what was the rigor like? Was it challenging enough and distinguished enough to be respected in the field and to elevate my learning? And to put me in a place where I was actually transforming a very large organization? Was it going to do something to evolve my skills as a leader? That has probably been one of the most defining moments. The rigor has been phenomenal. It's been doable. I obviously work full time. I have a family with 4 very active children, so I'm pretty crazed. So I wanted that challenge and that rigor, but I also wanted to be very involved in my new work. I took on a new role for my organization and be engaged in my family life. So you can do it. It's definitely challenging, and ringing that victory bell at the end will feel very delightful, but it has that balance. It doesn't lack any of the rigor that allows me to do it. It actually enables you and helps you evolve as a leader as you figure out how to do that. The partnership was really important to me, what programs offered, the ratio that I wanted. The partnership that Jim spoke of is legitimate also. Very, very hands-on faculty, very well established faculty, accessible at any time, really supportive. And again, that has really revealed itself in some pretty profound ways that have helped me elevate my learning experience and just my overall growth as a leader. And then one of the other ones he mentioned, it actually goes hand in hand, was the rethinking. So again, while you'll be so impressed with the caliber and the rigor of the academic content and the visiting professors, they mentioned just 3. I've been shocked every single time we come, and I have a pretty high bar every single time. The experience has been shocking, who they bring in and who we learn from and who we're talking to and exchanging ideas. I was unable to find anything parallel, but it's what happens below the syllabus and the content that will be most impressive to you, because everyone on this call and everyone in my cohort are very well established leaders and contributors to their organization. So sometimes you come in just thinking you're going to get a little extra zip, or you're going to, check that box on that, life goal of getting your PhD. But what happens in the process with your evolution and who you become yourself as a values-driven leader, because of what they put in place and because of how you deal not only with strategy, but philosophy of leadership, and how you evaluate and interact with your values, and how you will change the world, and you really will, and how in the end you're going to contribute to this field of leadership, which will influence children and adults forever. It's overwhelming. And yet when every time you leave your residency, you're filled with a feeling of awe of what you've been able to accomplish and what this program has put. So there's some unspoken words behind the brochures and behind what Jim's saying that are just phenomenal, and probably the most special parts of this program that they have developed. that will give you that global experience, those friendships, the content, but most importantly, it will give you an evolving concept of your leadership that you will never be the same again. And it's shocking because you're all probably in great places doing great things. So to experience that at this stage of the game is phenomenal. And that's what has caused me to fall in love and actually be on this call with you, and authentically endorse every aspect of this program, and with the hopes that you'll explore it and see if it's the right fit for you.
Wow, Laura, thank you. That was a ringing endorsement and very eloquent. I appreciate those words.
Mhm.
Let me turn it over to Amber to moderate our Q&A.
I just typed, Laura, I'm glad I was recording that because that was really compelling. All right, you all can start sending me your questions in the chat. I'm going to turn off the screen sharing so that we can see Laura and Jim a little more closely. And I've got the first question for you, Jim, and then we'll see. I actually have maybe 15 questions already on the page. There's a lot of questions coming. Keep them coming to me and we'll moderate them. Okay, Jim, questions, understanding that PhD, DBA, the difference between those two choices and when you have to make that decision.
Okay, yeah, as I mentioned, you can choose one of two tracks, a more research-focused PhD degree or a more practice-oriented DBA degree. And you don't have to make the final choice on that until you're done with the 2 years of coursework. Because during the 2 years of coursework, the PhD students and the DBA students take all the same courses. They're in the class together. It's just one group moving through the coursework. It's in that third year when you're doing your dissertation that if you go in the PhD track, you have to do original research using conventional research methods, quantitative methods, qualitative methods, or mixed methods. And your goal is to contribute to the literature. You want your results to be able to be publishable, and you want to be able to publish those. If you go in the DBA track, it's more of a practice-oriented degree. And what we ask you to do, you don't have to use conventional research methods, quantitative, qualitative, or mixed. What we ask you to do is some kind of change project in your organization, a leadership development project, or in your community, and then to write up a robust case study of that with lessons learned. And then, of course, linking it to the literature that you've become accustomed to or you have learned about throughout the program, but you don't have to use those traditional research methods. And in many cases, a person who does a DBA degree does not necessarily have the ambition to publish, but just wants to strengthen their leadership skills and put it into practice in their organization. So that's the difference between the two tracks. And again, you don't have to decide until after the end of the second year of the program.
Great, thank you, Jim. All right, I have a question. I'll throw first to Laura, and then we may want to have Jim speak in on it too. I'm not going to point any fingers, but there are a few people on the call who have some anxiety around quantitative methods and statistics. Laura, what would you want people to know about that?
That I'm with you. So it's ironic too that my work has taken me in the direction that I will be going there most likely. We have, again, it's that partnership within the program. You start to alleviate some of that fear. You will be stretched, you will be challenged, and obviously quant is my stretch and my challenge, but you will also be supported in a way that will allow you to get there. And those fears really start to alleviate. I'm not going to say they completely go away, but you start to have these wins and you start to interact with methods that really make you feel very capable of doing it. If in the end it's just not a fit with your skill set, then maybe that's an indication that you're geared more towards qualitative research or some type of interaction with that. But I guarantee you, I think you'll get to the point where you're like looking at quantitative analysis and research very differently and feeling much more empowered than you might feel at this moment. And you at least have incredible skill set. So I happen to have one of the leaders that they mentioned earlier, Mike Manning, who is brilliant with quantitative methods, and he has enabled me to feel pretty empowered in that space. So I'm feeling a little bit better, but I'll be here if you have more questions, because I'm with you on that. It's very intimidating, but I'd say they've set you up for success here and have all the key players that will allow you to tackle it successfully if that's the route you would like to go.
What would you add to that, Jim?
Just that very early in the program, we have our first research methods course, and Mike Manning teaches it. He teaches it along with Anjan Chakravarti from the University of Miami, who you saw earlier as one of the favorite distinguished visiting scholars of our students. And they talk about philosophy of science and how to read journal articles and all of that kind of stuff, because we know that that's what people need to know coming into the program. And that's all you need to know as you begin the program. Then towards the end of the second year, you do have a quantitative research methods course. And I don't think, Laura, you have taken that course yet. You will in just a month or two. Amber, you went through that course. It's taught by a guy by the name of Miko Ketokivi, who is a professor at IE Business School in Madrid, Spain. Mm-hmm. And Miko is the lead editor-in-chief of a journal that's a quantitative journal. So he's very sophisticated and very knowledgeable about quantitative methods. But he's also exceptionally skilled at boiling it down to a level that's really understandable and digestible. And he's just a great guy. I think you would agree, Amber. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins our favorite distinguished visiting scholar one of these years. And so, you know, we understand the anxieties around that. We as faculty had those same anxieties when we went through our doctoral programs. We work with the students to make sure that what they learn in the program is at the level they need to learn it at. And then if they do want to go on and do quantitative dissertation, they'll have the skills they need. And we'll also connect them with the right dissertation committee members to help them succeed in that as well. Mm-hmm. Amber, what would you add?
Oh, I mean, Miko does make it so approachable. In my cohort, at least, he taught us quantitative statistics using M&Ms, which is still a pretty good motivating factor for me. And yeah, I am very much a qualitative person. I knew I was going to use qualitative methods in my dissertation, but I still learned so much and felt it was entirely approachable the whole time.
Yeah. And I guess just also to say that in the fields of leadership, organizational change, corporate responsibility, you know, the areas that we really focus on, qualitative research methods are respected as much as quantitative. And so if you decide you don't want to do quantitative and you want to do qualitative, that's great too. We'll support you 100%, and the research will be every bit as high quality.
Great. One question I can answer quickly on if you are working with an organization that does offer tuition reimbursement, the university, you get to choose how you want to be billed, whether you want to be a monthly, quarterly, or lump sum, or annual, whatever it is, and they'll work with you to negotiate however it needs to be approached with your employer as well. That's a wonderful challenge to figure out. It's great to have that kind of support. All right, Jim, a question to send to you. Let's say that either this program is really focused on senior executives, you're someone who's reaching for that but hasn't yet achieved that level, or you're someone who's retired from that sort of senior executive leadership and you don't necessarily have the day-to-day interaction anymore. Is this program still appropriate for you to consider?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our primary target audience for the program is senior executives in business. But as I mentioned earlier, we also like to bring in as much diversity into the cohort as possible. And so, you know, that means diversity in terms of culture, race, ethnicity, gender, but it also means diversity in terms of industry, and it means diversity in terms of age. And phase in your career. And we've had folks in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I think even 70s. In fact, I know even 70s. I would say the majority of the students are in the sort of late 40 to early 50 age range. and sort of at that stage in their career. But we really take each application and look at it in its own right and see if the person is someone who is a leader, who is wanting to change the world through leadership in a positive way and has a track record of doing that. And we evaluate each student on a case-by-case basis.
Terrific. All right, Laura, for you, the question that everybody secretly really wanted to make sure got answered. How much time a week are you spending on this program, and how do you find that time? How should people plan their time as they look forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your style will dictate how you do that. So I know even in my cohort, there's some folks who plan it out, how many hours they will spend each day, and they have their schedule. I don't operate that way. Mine ebbs and flows. So I have to, I'm working too, and my work expects me to be there. So I have a nimbleness about my schedule where when I get a pocket, I take advantage of that pocket. Or when I have a weekend, I'll block that weekend, and I kind of plan it out with a little bit of flexibility so that I can meet a variety of schedules. Sometimes that gets challenging and a lot of things pop in that you don't know, but I would say on average, a good pace for me, on average, at a minimum, I like to read and reread. So I probably spend a little more time, and I'm a slow reader. So, but on average, I think I kind of balance it and spend at least about 8 hours to 10 hours a week at least. But sometimes I amp that up and I do a little bit more so that if there ever comes a time when I don't. But on a steady pace, I'll usually add at least a couple hours if I can on average a night to knock out some readings and to start working on work. And then when I get a good chunk of time, and can crank on about 4 to 8 hours or get a weekend in with a Saturday and a Sunday, I'll do that. You figure it out. And some assignments just require more work, and some, it's something you enjoy or you read quickly and you get some of that extra time to dedicate. It's really, I wish I could give you a clear-cut answer, but you'll figure it out based on your style and your flexibility in your work schedule.
Yeah,
I hope
and
that's a good time to say, Amber. Amber probably gave
absolutely.
like much more time to it.
Well, no, I don't. I can't even remember at this point, but I know that we ask our students as they finish their classes, Laura, your cohort will get a survey, and we'll ask you this and many other questions. And what we usually hear is that the average during the busy times is somewhere around 15 hours, maybe 20 at the busiest, in the busiest weeks. In my own personal experience, I know I had weeks that it wasn't nearly that high, but when you're in a week where there's a class paper due and there's a qualifying paper due, or you're really starting to get focused on your dissertation, it easily could have been into that range.
Yeah, there will be a day or two that you spend 24 hours, I'm not gonna lie. But it all works out, and I just say on an average, if you're willing to at least put in a full day of work or two, you're in good shape.
Yeah, and I was one of the more scheduled people. So I would do an hour in the morning before the household woke up, and then I'd do an hour after my kids were in bed at night, and then I tried to do 2 hours on Saturday morning, 2 hours on Sunday morning, and then whatever little nuggets of time I could find the rest of the week.
Yeah, you have two good resources here, because Amber is definitely very scheduled and really good and disciplined, seriously. And I would be writing your, PhD for Dummies book right now. Like, how do you do it? How do you get through? How do you manage, 10 balls in the air? So you got two good resources depending on your style with what you want to do. So feel free.
How do you manage with 10 balls in the air is the truest statement you said. That's what this program is really about. And we can talk about the things we all gave up to be able to do this. That's true too.
Right.
All right, so Jim, a couple of questions I think you can answer kind of quickly. Accreditation, is the program accredited?
Yes, it is accredited. It's accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. So it's a fully accredited program. Yep. It used to be the North Central Association of Colleges and Universities, but now it's a Higher Learning Commission.
Yeah. Okay, terrific. And Benedictine is a Catholic university. How Catholic is the program itself?
Um, it's not a faith-based program per se. We have people in the program who are Catholic. We have people in the program who are Protestants, Jewish, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, non-professing, radical humanists. We have all different perspectives, and we love having all different perspectives in the program, because what we really want to talk about is what is great values-driven leadership. Leadership that is both highly ethical and highly effective. Leadership that is full of character and full of competence. What does that look like? And let's look at that from every perspective. Not just one perspective. We love being at a Catholic Benedictine institution because the Benedictine tradition has values that are very similar to many of the values that are in effect in great organizations, like the ones you talked about, Amber: honesty and integrity and care and compassion and excellence and accountability and meaning and contribution to society. All of those values are part of the Benedictine tradition, and they're part of what makes a great organization. And so it's a nice place to be housed. We feel very supported by the university, but it's not a Catholic program. It's not a faith-based program. It's a program around leadership, and we want to look at it from multiple perspectives.
Terrific, thank you. All right, Laura, a lot of questions around the dissertation, and in particular, it's pretty intimidating to, just start from the ground up and build it. Can you talk a little bit about how you got to your dissertation topic and what the process in the program is like?
Yeah, and everyone gets there taking a different path, and it's pretty wonderful to watch, even in your cohort, how everyone gets to that place. A lot of times our environments will help us get there as far as where we're working and what we want to accomplish there. But it's always matched with your passion. So what is your passion? What will be your legacy? And again, where does that passion and purpose intersect? And again, that sounds almost too aspirational, but again, you'll be amazed at what happens in that evolution that starts to really help you arrive at that dissertation goal. So they always say the most common phrase you'll hear in this, other than "how can I help you," is trust the process. And the process itself, and every interaction you have with the visiting professors and the staff and the content, gets you that much closer. You truly feel closer every single time you interact with a member of the faculty, the staff, or the content. And it will reveal itself through your thinking, through your feeling. And that isn't a kumbaya statement, that truly happens. So again, I know there's a lot of anxiety around it. When will, even as you start getting close to the point, but that's when something's going to pop, and you feel that tension right at that moment when it starts really revealing itself. And we're experiencing that right now. And it's the process itself is as magnificent as the entire program. So it's one of the enlightening moments that you will appreciate so much about the program, that the dissertation becomes less about a task item and this monumentous assignment, and it becomes really about a life journey that you just went on, and it revealed itself through your thoughts and behaviors. So I would embrace it, even if it's something that seems looming or really intimidating. The journey there is phenomenal, and probably one of the greatest growth moments of your leadership life.
Thank you. All right, we just have time for 2 or 3 more questions, so we're going to try to move through a couple of that are just coming in. Jim, what happens if you miss a class weekend?
Well,
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, that would be, I agree with you, Laura. That would be my advice. We do consider the class weekends to be mandatory, to be required. And the reason for that, obviously, is that's when we have all of the students in the room, we have the visiting scholar in the room, we have the faculty in the room, And that's where the real learning takes place, because a lot of times, you'll read 25 journal articles for the weekend, and half of them you don't even understand. You read them 3-4 times, you highlight them with yellow, and you still don't understand them. And then, the person who wrote many of those journal articles is going to be in the room with you. And it's really in that dialogue that you begin to say, oh, okay, this makes sense. And I see how it relates to these other theories I've been working with. And I see how I can bring that to work on Monday morning. So it's in that dialogue. And that's why we make those mandatory, because you just can't get that learning any other way. And also, obviously people are flying in from all over the country, and in some cases overseas. And so we want to respect and honor people's time as well. However, we're also aware that there are times when extenuating circumstances make it impossible for a person to be in class. And in that case, we ask them to do some additional work to sort of simulate as best as possible the learning and dialogue that was in the room with the rest of the students. It may be to do some interviews and then write up an additional paper. It may be, just an additional paper and some additional reading, but students are asked to do some makeup work. I chuckled at first because in the current cohort, a few of the students have begun to call it the punishment paper rather than the makeup paper. And so we have a sort of inside joke going around there. But of course, the purpose of the additional work is to really cement the learning that the person is just not getting by not being in class.
Terrific. All right, we have a question and I can answer it kind of quickly. If, Laura is from a big company, are all of our students from big companies? And no, absolutely not. We have companies of all sizes. There's an excellent student in our program who owns a 1-person consulting firm. Another person has a 15-person consulting firm. And then we have Allstate and Progressive and some other large companies in the US Army in the program. And so those are very different sizes. It varies widely.
And Amber, may I just add on to that? I see Julie's
Sure.
question about, I'm an entrepreneur, and we have many entrepreneurs in the program, in the current cohort and in every cohort, and we love having entrepreneurs in the program. They bring a perspective that is unique, so yeah, just to add on to what you said.
Yep, thank you. And Laura, we know we want to go back to being in the classroom, but what's the experience been like being online?
Surprisingly great. I'm one of those folks. One of the reasons I picked this program was because of the classroom experience. So I was kind of dreading the going online. I purposely did not pick any programs, immediately knocked them out if they were online. I will tell you, it's been great. I give kudos to Amber and Jim openly. And they've nailed it. The experience, you actually get to interact with the professors even more. You can shoot them, like you're seeing here, private conversations, and they'll actually respond. You get to see your whole class when normally your face, there's some silver linings to it that have been surprisingly dynamic and have actually enhanced some of the experience. So none of us, as we were very resistant, like, oh, should we put it on hold or should we wait? Not one person feels that way now. They've managed to make sure it's very robust. Again, I speak of the rigor. The rigor is the same. The experience is the same. In fact, some elements have actually given you more personal experience with it. So it's been surprisingly great.
Terrific. All right, this is our lightning round. 1-sentence replies or as quickly as you can, and then we'll move on to our next steps and get you off to your dinners. So Jim, of the people who start the program, how many people finish?
I think, close to 90-95% of the people finish. In every cohort, we usually take in about 25 students, and in every cohort, a couple drop out very early in the program. The workload is heavier than they expected, or they get a new job and feel like they can't continue to do both, whatever the case may be. And then when it comes time to, and then they make it through the coursework, and then it comes time to do the dissertation. I think about 70% of our students graduate within the 3-year time frame. That is to say, 1 year on the dissertation. and about 30% take a little more time. They may take another half year or another full year to finish. But overall, in terms of the number that enroll and the number that complete the program, it's probably about 90% and 70% in the 3-year time frame. Some take a little longer.
All right, and Laura, last question to you. You've got a group of people considering this program. What do you wish you'd known? What's your best piece of advice for them?
I wish I had known it sooner. I wish I would have known it was doable sooner. I wish I would have had the exposure sooner. But we say that about a lot of things, right? I wish I would have done it sooner because I love it. And I love what it has done for me and for my career and how what my legacy is going to be as a result of it. And I wish I could have started it even sooner. So again, that sounds, very cliche to say, but I wish I had done it sooner. Other than that, there's nothing. I've actually been pleasantly surprised with a lot of things that were originally anxiety ridden or fear. Those have all been subsided. So I just wish I would have done it sooner.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, in the last 2 minutes here, I just want to give you some additional resources you can turn to keep doing your due diligence around the program. The first one, of course, is just the website. I'm sure you've all found this page on our website, cvdl.ben.edu/doctorate. Each of those sections of orange text you see there are hyperlinks that'll take you to way more content than you'll be reading nonstop between now and the day the cohort starts if you try to read all of this. But you can literally read dissertations, you can watch videos and see photos of what the classroom looks like and just sort of immerse yourself in the experience to help imagine what it would be like to be there. And then I also want to mention that this year we started a new webinar. We only do it 2 times a year and we don't have one currently on the schedule, but it's called Preparing for Your PhD. And you can see the web address there. There's a recorded version of it. And it's a different session than this. This was all about how the program works. The Preparing for Your PhD session is, okay, if you've decided you want to do it, how do you get your life in order, your technology, and how can you prepare yourself and talk to your family about it, and think about all of those things, all the tips like buying bookshelves, which you can see in the backgrounds of both Laura and Jim, which we definitely think you're going to need. And so we recommend you check that out. To sort of review the timelines, we're accepting applications now. We're actually past the deadline, and we will stop accepting applications when the cohort is full. And we already have in the pipeline enough students to make that possible, although they have not all completed their application packet. I can promise you the cohort will be open at least until January 4, which is the day our offices get back from the holiday break. So I would not plan on applying. I wouldn't plan on waiting any longer than that. Get your application in soon if you want to be considered. And in fact, you can just do it this weekend. The application itself just takes 15 minutes online, and then it's the other pieces that you can send in over time. But definitely do apply now. And then the way the process works, once your application is complete, the faculty decide if they'd like to invite you for an interview. If they do invite you for an interview, within a day or 2 of that interview process, you'll know whether you were accepted, so that you get the full calendar of classes and get them on your schedule and can start planning the next steps. And classes start, or orientation starts, on April 8th. A couple of other opportunities to connect with us. We offer a monthly free executive education webinar on timely topics. Half of them are related to addressing racism and building inclusion in organizations, and the other half are focused on really timely topics of leadership in general. And so here you see December and January's. December is on practical strategies for advancing DEI, and January is on mindful practices to start your new year. And we just put Marches up today, and so there's great opportunities, and these are free. Invite to the world. We'll take you all. It's really a fun way to spend an hour. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Jim, why don't you close us out with some closing comments here?
Sounds good, Amber. I think that you've got a pretty good idea of what the program's all about. Laura and Amber are very articulate at giving you that picture, but maybe just to summarize a little bit, what we're really looking for is a dynamic group of leaders who want to change the world through a values-driven approach to business, and who just love to learn and want to grow and develop as leaders and as scholars and as people, and who want to sort of push the frontiers of the field, both in terms of theory and practice, and who want to do all of that as part of a global learning community full of like-minded, smart, fun, values-driven leaders like Amber and Laura. So we hope that you are one of those folks and that you will apply and join us in cohort 6. And with that, I just want to thank you, Laura, and thank you, Amber, for being on this webinar tonight. And thanks to everyone who joined us tonight. And also on behalf of Laura and Amber and myself and the entire Center for Values-Driven Leadership team, we just want to wish you the happiest of holidays. It's been a wild and crazy year, but we hope that your holidays are filled with joy and hope and love and possibility for what is coming next year. And particularly those of you who come from the Jewish faith, who begin Hanukkah this evening. So happiest of holidays to all of you, and have a great rest of your day. And with that, we are adjourned. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a good night.
everyone.
Thank you.